When Jurassic World Dominion came out 3 years ago now, if you can believe it, my biggest complaints were the lack of dinos, the lack of setup of plot essential items, so things just conveniently happening, and the nostalgia bait that the film ultimately relied so heavily on that the plot of the film kind of was not existent. At the time, I swore I would never watch another Jurassic World movie, and I also said that despite these complaints and despite how poorly received I felt that film was at the time, because it was literally about bugs and clones, it was not about dinosaurs, that there would inevitably be a Jurassic World sequel, a reboot, something else to carry this franchise into the next age. And not even 3 years later, we have that sequel, which is Jurassic World Rebirth. And while I do have my dings against this reborn version of the franchise, those critiques pale in comparison to Jurassic World Dominion. Spoiler alert, I really love this movie. I have been excited for this movie since they first announced the casting choices of Scarlett Johansson and Jonathan Bailey. I'm obviously a big Bridgerton fan and a huge Anthony fan, so I was so excited for Jonathan Bailey's casting specifically. But then when you have Mahershala Ali, a best supporting actor twice in a supporting role, and then we have Cam Cameron from Summer I Turned Pretty, like, we were cooking with gas. Like, this was a pretty tasty dish that we were cooking up. A little more than just dino nuggets, I'll say. So I kind of want to attack this review because I mostly really enjoyed this film. I wanted to kind of compare and contrast it with the Jurassic World Dominion. To take my first complaint about Jurassic World Dominion, no dinos. Like, obviously, yes, there were dinosaurs in that movie, but...
He is a liar, as you say?
Well, absolutely.
Why did you work for him?
Savannah, slow down.
The central plot relies on the clone child of Blue, the velociraptor, who is named Beta, and the little girl who's kind of a clone of the scientist who basically was her mother, but she's basically also an identical clone of her mother. But in Rebirth, I feel like we really actually feel, or at least I felt, a real sense and impact of the sheer magnitude and terror and awe that these animals would inflict on a person. We have big old T-Rex, obviously, is in here. We've got some really ugly experimental dinosaurs, because kind of the plot of this film is that this island used to have a laboratory when they were still experimenting on animals, on dinosaurs, to make them more interesting to the general public, because now at this point in time, people have kind of moved on from dinosaurs, which I think is also such a commentary on our world, that we would literally bring dinosaurs back from extinction and then we'd get tired of them and we'd be like, I'm bored. I don't really want to go to the dinosaur exhibit at the museum or at the zoo of the living dinosaur. I don't care. Like, they're seen more as like this kind of, once again, old relic of this thing that was cool like 15, 20 years ago, but now is not. And this film kind of positions itself in that way with a unique respect, because in the first Jurassic Park, these are all... like, this is the first time that dinosaurs have been brought back from extinction. And I'll be completely transparent at this point. I've not seen any of the other Jurassic Park sequels. I've seen Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, and Jurassic World Dominion. So it's kind of my context leading up to this. You have this, like, on the first film. And then they kind of become this like theme park attraction in Jurassic World, which to some extent you get to see like the actualization of the Jurassic Park that never really was, which is cool. But then in like Fallen Kingdom and in Dominion specifically, they kind of become like they're trying to speak more on the humans, which this series has always been about. Like, you can't play God, and like sometimes when you play God, bad things happen, but also like we should have respect for nature and these animals and the natural order of things. But this movie specifically takes this really unique approach, because the two main characters are Scarlett Johansson, who is basically, she's leading the heist here, okay? She's in charge of retrieving what they need, which is dinosaur blood, DNA, blah, blah, blah. You have Dr. Henry Loomis, who Jonathan Bailey plays, who is like, I love these animals and I have studied them. He's like, I would love to get to see these animals in their natural habitat. And he has like such a deep love for these creatures that kind of begins to influence the rest of the crew that goes on this mission back to one of the islands where the dinosaurs are. He has this really beautiful moment that I'm sure people have seen. It's in the trailers, but where he is kind of the human that's interacting with this dinosaur and just taking in like this dinosaur in its natural habitat with others of its same species and appreciating it. And that's where I really liked this movie. It had both the terror of the T-Rex like attack that, you know, Jurassic Park and has been known for since literally the 80s or maybe the 90s 93, so sorry. But it also added this like this adoration, this respect, and this love of these creatures that are so incredible, and that humankind has kind of now in this abused, used for riches, and then kind of left behind as this like thing that they don't care that much about. So I really loved that because you see the dinosaurs on screen, but they're also really essential to kind of the thematics of some of these characters. To me, that moment when he touches the dinosaur and there's this beautiful score playing, which is the closest you get to John Williams' original score in this film, is that you really feel this sense of like awe and magnificence of these creatures. And to me, that really tapped into the core of the original Jurassic Park. Wow, this is incredible, but also we shouldn't be playing God like that. Like there was something kind of magical about that moment for me. And I don't know if other people felt that. I also felt that way with the terror, with the T-Rex chase. Like in the last couple Jurassic movies, I haven't been nervous about the dinosaur. And part of that is for our next reason, because Dominion had this convenience level that I really despise, where somebody's like getting chased by a dinosaur, the dinosaur's right here, escape hatch behind them. Oh no, we need to shoot at this thing. Surprise, I have a gun in this car. Like it's not that those things were completely unrealistic, but it was sort of like they were just convenient. They were set up to be there because the plot required it, and they became these Deus Ex Machinas for the plot rather than something that has kind of been set up prior. And what I really loved about Rebirth is that they did the kind of diehard thing, or that's what I call it in my head. You've set everything up, whether it's a consequence or a benefactor or something that you need for a later thing in the plot to be like amplified. You've set this all up beforehand. You have that moment there beforehand. Like, for example, there's a scene in this movie where a character is trying to get some water or trying to check on something, and a blood drop falls on them. And they look up and they see a skeleton holding a gun. And so they take the gun. And that kind of becomes this like hidden thing for a while. But then later in the movie, when tensions arise, oh, somebody pulls a gun, and it's that person and it's that gun. There's things like that I just felt like it flowed, it made sense. And at times, did this make the movie a little bit predictable? Yes. At times, did this feel like everything was so perfectly woven together that we were kind of just like going through the motions? Sometimes. But like I said before, there were so many moments of like awe and magnificence of this movie, like high rush, like stunts in this movie that felt to me what this movie series, this franchise in 2025, 30 years after it's the original. How do we continue and make this fresh? If we're going to keep doing it, like we have to do it to the best of our ability. And I think this film really did that. And then the nostalgia bait. This movie, I think, kind of knew how to play with nostalgia, but in a fresh way. Like, we have a character like Dr. Henry Loomis mentions Dr. Alan Grant. Okay, great mention. Great way to establish that we're all set up in the same universe. Great, this isn't like some rebooted like Jurassic World thing. Cool, we have the same information as before. I do think this movie was definitely trying to stray from the Jurassic World films with Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard. Not necessarily saying that those movies were, I don't personally love them, but I'm not saying they're bad or that this movie thought they were bad, but they definitely are trying to do their own thing here. So those characters aren't really mentioned. Just a little bit goes a long way, I think. Like a little reference like that, great, awesome. Like we're not playing multiverse MCU here game with Jurassic World. We're not playing that game. A little reference here and a little reference there. I think there were more things like iconography that kind of worked for this film. So like for some reason there's this opening scene in this film that really reminded me kind of the Barbasol can, where somebody has a Snickers wrapper that causes an incident in a laboratory, and for some reason like that, just we straight up see the brand of this, and this object becomes kind of important for the sequence. Like, I don't know, that just kind of worked for me. Things like that just felt nostalgic. And also things like, hey, we're not going to play the exact score because this is a different movie, but in this big moment, which the moment did feel really like reminiscent of the moment where they see all the Stegosauruses and you hear that Jurassic Park score in the original film, this moment where they're tracking one of the dinosaurs they need to track down, it felt like that. And I think this is how you make a requel, right? A reboot, sequel, blah, 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 whatever. You harken back to the original in a way that's like, we're not exactly copying it. We're not doing a shot for shot. We're not having the plot be exactly the same, but we're not going to stray so far from it or try to be like pseudo intellectual. Like to me, I felt like Dominion was, to be different. Like we understand that people are coming here because they kind of want the same general plot for this movie. We just need to make the exciting parts as new and as interesting and use all the new technology that we can. I also did feel in this film like they were in real danger, genuinely, most of the time. My husband said that he felt like everyone had plot armor. That's his opinion, so I'll put it in here. But for me personally, I definitely feel like there's an introduction of kind of our main cast of characters, and then we have this side family, and I think that added a lot of tension that this franchise really needed and lacked for me in prior films. And so at the end of the day, did I like this movie a lot more because Jonathan Bailey and Scarlett Johansson were in it? Yes. Did I think that it was good though? Yes. Did I think it was well written? Yes. Would I be sat if they made a sequel with these exact characters again? Yes, I would. There is a certain, like, how many times more can we do this whole, like, we need to go get something from the dinosaurs, it's gonna be dangerous, uh-oh, something goes wrong, there's a kid here, oh no, we gotta get, oh, we left, and we're never going back to the dinosaur island again. But ultimately, what I've started to appreciate, even about live action remakes and requels and things like this, is if this film gets even one person to go watch the original Jurassic Park because they're curious, or they loved this movie so much, or they hated it so much and they're like, I don't get this. If somebody who's never seen Jurassic Park gets to watch it from this, it's a win. At the end of the day, I think it really is. In terms of the social scale, like, I'm not getting into the business scale, but in terms of like the cinephile community, like, if one more person or one more young person who's never seen this movie before gets to appreciate it, who would otherwise not have, I think it's worth it. And at the end of the day, like, Jonathan Bailey and his little glasses, like, that's done the world more good than harm, and you can't tell me otherwise. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate you listening to me talk about this movie and basically kind of rehash my opinions on Dominion. I would love if you would hit the subscribe button, and that way you won't miss the next Jurassic World sequel when that inevitably comes out in 3 years from now. Thank you guys for watching. Have an absolutely amazing day or night whenever you're going to watch this, and I'll see you in my very next video. Bye, y'all.